to Can You Not? Today's theme is the idea of depreciation of value, as chosen by Jesse. And I did want to say real quick, our friend Anna listened to the last episode, which was very fitting because she partially inspired my conversation about J.K. Rowling, because we had talked about that before. And she had an additional thought that she wanted to pose, and she wondered, is calling someone a problematic fave a way to brush that person's problems under the rug so we can still enjoy that person or their material?
Well, I think part of the idea is that you can still appreciate someone's material while recognizing that they aren't a perfect human.
Right.
It's almost giving them dimension in a sense.
Yeah, because I mean, you can look at just about anybody you admire and find something like that is negative about them,
right,
or something that like is bad. So I feel like, I'm sure some people do it that way, but I don't think they'd call it problematic if they didn't think that that person or character or whatever had a problem, you know?
Yeah, I think historical dramas like to do that a lot. Like, they like to uncover, who was the real Lincoln and who was, so I think it's something we do naturally anyway. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to do. I think we can still appreciate, like you said, I think we can still appreciate a person without, hating what they created.
Yeah, trying to lump everybody into either like evil or like super good doesn't ever really work. So I actually think it's kind of cool that there's like a mainstream term for that, like for this idea that, just because you really, really like somebody doesn't mean that they don't have any mistakes under their belt,
Right.
For depreciation of value, the thing that I thought of first, and I couldn't tell you why, but there are a lot of sites and services now where you can trade things for free, or people offer things for free. And the main two that I was aware of before I started looking into it were couch surfers, where you can go onto this website and pretty much people can post if they have open space in their home, and if you're traveling or you need somewhere to stay, you can message them and they can let you stay with them and it doesn't cost anything. Or Simbi is another one that's actually relatively new. I think I just heard of it recently, but what you do is instead of purchasing something from somebody, like lessons or a service, you can post what you have to offer. Like, I can teach you how to do this, I can make you something, here's I can I don't know, just like that kind of thing. And then other people also post similar things, like things they can teach you, or things they can do for you, or things they can make you, and then you can pretty much trade. So it's like a bartering system. And I was looking into it, and I just found this list of 36 bartering and swapping websites, and it's anything from you can trade books with people to there's one where you can actually literally trade houses with people. And I don't mean to like stay in, I mean like you want to live somewhere else and so does this other person, you two can trade houses. I haven't looked into it, but it's a thing, and it's online, and like there are clothing swap websites, there's all kinds of stuff. And I mean, then there's obviously this Craigslist if you're trying to get rid of something. That's a really popular one that doesn't necessarily have to be bartering. But I was wondering, do you guys think that this sort of phenomenon, because I feel like it is gaining in momentum, like couch surfers is huge, and other similar things. Do you think that, like, I guess I am almost crediting this as a generational thing because it's rising with the internet, but do you think that our generation, or we as a society, are starting to view money as depreciated, since there are so many people looking into these alternative ways to learn things and do things?
I read an article called Why Cash is Worth Less Than You Think, and they were talking about how we have these highly illegible currencies like relationships and energy and willpower, and how you have this highly legible currencies like cash and goods and services, and how the more and more we trade off of these things for other things, the more it's depreciating cash as a whole. So like say you give up your time to go into a job and earn money, which you then further return back into a vacation, which gives you more time again, or something like that. It's like, it was kind of abstract what this article was going with, but they were saying like essentially cash is never like the ultimate end goal. You're usually trading it back for one of these illegible things, like, you know, having...
You mean intangible things?
Well, they use the term illegible, but I think intangible is probably a good way to
I don't
phrase
understand
it
what illegible means, but...
Yeah, so I don't know if that's related at all, but I thought it was at least kind
I feel
of
like
interesting.
because a bunch of this is kind of skipping the middleman, or it's this idea that I have extra stuff that I don't need, and I can trade you for extra stuff that you don't need, or I have something I can offer. But part of what I thought was so cool about it is I could literally, and this one isn't free, but the worldwide opportunities on organic farms, it shortens to WOOF, you can pay for a membership, and then what you basically do is you live on a farm and work on a farm in exchange for your room and board. And I could literally live with minimal money, just like wolf farm hopping.
Yeah.
Like
you
I would need.
tried it one time, right?
Well, I mean, I went for a week. I've never tried to go,
Well, yeah.
but I could literally live without money to a certain extent. I'd need gas money, but like if I'm working for my room and board and my food and somebody else is providing all that, I just think that's really interesting that there's this super tangible, very real way that I could literally just like skip over all of it if I wanted to put in the time. You know what I'm saying?
Like when you're talking about your article, it's very capitalistic. It's very middle class perspective. To me, Amber has almost Marxist ideals with bringing up these kind of services in a sense.
I think they're interesting.
Yeah, like, but I mean in a good way, in a sense, like it's off the tangibility and value of your service or of what you have, not necessarily defined by the money that you can give at this moment, which it has Marxist ideals to it. Right. I think these kind of services, as they develop more and kind of expand upon their realms, I think they have a great future to succeed in a sense.
And I'm sorry, were you?
And I mean, just the idea that you can trade something that you can be well defined as by your service, and someone needs it that desperately, or not in a dire straits, but they need it at that moment. I think that puts more value on you, and more focus on you in a weird way, and what you can serve to the other person or the community.
Yeah, well, what I almost got from what Joe said is that just the example that you gave, that you give your time to make money to pay for more time off, like as a vacation. That's like super depressing. But I don't think that is necessarily against what these things are for, because
someone disagrees.
Oh, okay. But I lost my train of thought. But like an interesting thing that I found is, I don't remember which website it is. I signed up for a lot of these while I was going through this list, right? Because I think it's really, really cool, and I don't have any money. But one of the things was just like a message board, and you picked where you lived, and there was a West Cleveland board, and I went onto it, and it was kind of interesting because like on the first page somebody was giving away, they had Swiss chard and kale that they had grown, and like 2 pages later somebody literally posted, I have 6 kids and I don't make enough in food stamps to feed everybody, and I need food. Like, and it was just, you could literally see it like right in front of you. Or like somebody wanted to can stuff, like they wanted to do food preservation, and like I'm not making this up, on the next page there's somebody giving away canning jars. Like it was really, really cool to see like right in front of you. Like I obviously don't know if they hooked up with each other, but like it's right there that there are people who have things they don't need and people who need things, and there are these services available where you can trade them. And part of what I like about it, the physical things aside with that message board, is that I don't have money to spend on like external things for the most part. So being able to on Simbi, which is the one where you can trade like lessons and that kind of thing, seem to be predominant. It's literally like I already know how to do this and this, and I can give you an hour of my time, but you have to teach me something back. It's this really cool sharing opportunity, and it's this way to learn things, and I think it's really, really cool. But by skipping over money, like I don't know if these are all people who are also broke like me, or like on this list there's even I don't remember what they called themselves, but they're basically dumpster divers who have rejected like all of society kind of, because they don't want to support any of the corporate stuff because they think pretty much everything is harmful no matter how hard you try. Like, and it's just these two kind of differing sides to, I think, the people who utilize these kinds of things.
Obviously, the bartering system is a very ancient sort of thing that predates, I believe, even the invention of money. But I think we're even more open to the idea when we're very young. You know, we say like, okay, if you go rake the leaves, I'll buy you a candy bar or something like that. You know, it's like
Freegans. They call themselves Freegans, which is based on the word vegan, because they're also vegans, I guess. It's really, really strange.
So at what point are you signing up?
I don't think you can sign up. They don't even have a Facebook page.
Oh my God.
But I don't know about dumpster diving, but it's just kind of, because there are people who like take it that far, who like reject money and everything and look for everything for free because they feel like they can exist outside of the system and all that stuff. And I don't know about that, but I do think it's pretty interesting that there are less extreme options available.
Yeah, I don't think I could make it as a capitalistic nomad. I don't think I'd be able to avoid all the goods and services that I'm so used to that I...
Dumpster diving.
Yeah, I can't do it. I would be too nervous about like the quality of the food or whatever, even though it's probably...
Oh, well, I mean, okay, so I'm not a dumpster diver. There are ways that you can like quality assure for that. But, or like just make sure there are things you can look for, because we as society do throw a lot of things out, but I don't think that that's necessarily the point of some of these other services. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's very cool.
As I was looking to decide, well, not looking to decide, I was kind of trying to either qualify or quantify my topic. All the articles and top research or results that came up on Google and Bing had to deal with technology and how things now, because of how technology has advanced over time, instantaneously when you pull something out of a package, it loses its value. Mm-hmm. When you drive the car off the lot, it loses its value. And it's all this kind of devalue has been casted as a negative thing. But yet, what's interesting about devalue is that for people from a lower class or working class perspective, it actually is a positive. So as technology advances and it moves in a rapid fashion, the value will grow over an exponential time, and the rate at which it will grow has not been measured yet. There's articles on electric cars, the devalue of older hybrid vehicles, and phones. And I guess what I'm trying to present is, from a lower class perspective or working class perspective, this devalue makes this kind of technology more available, because right now we are living in a digital divide. For those people, it's hard for them to gain laptops, phones, cars, and other things that we take for granted. But to me, devalue is actually a positive thing to those that can't afford the things that people from your article would say is an issue. Mm-hmm. So can devalue be seen as a positive?
Yeah, it's a really interesting spin, because like it's not often that you think of devalue as like a positive thing, because you know the spin is always like, wow, in this modern age we so quickly move on to the next thing, that the thing right underneath. But I guess in a sense, like, say if you had a TV that was outdated back in the 80s, maybe your TV would be like 25 years old, but now an outdated TV now is like 5 or 6 years old, right? So like, I guess in a way it is almost kind of closing the divide a little bit. I think good proof is just the amount of resale shops that have popped up. I don't think that was really a thing like back in the 50s or anything like that. It was mostly clothes you passed down or made yourself or whatever. But but now you see them everywhere, and they do exist in a lot of lower income communities, and I think that's a really positive thing. Even if, you know, certain ones like Goodwill, I take, you know, I don't think they're perfect. There's issues with how they run their thing, but in theory, the idea of a resale shop or like a thrift store or something like that is a really awesome thing that exists, I think.
Well, I feel like you kind of have to be careful of saying that like things were old when they were 20 years old at one point, now they're old when they're 5 years old. But what comes with that also is that a lot of technology is made to break after a certain amount of time. So I'm not saying that something decreasing in value couldn't help somebody else who needs to buy that thing, but you also have to keep in mind that if things are made to break, like if my phone is supposed to break before the next phone comes out, so I buy that next phone, that could also mean that while people are able to get their hands on more things, that they might be getting their hands on more less functional things. So
that's a good point.
But I do think it's cool that technology is moving at such a rate that now I'm not saying it doesn't exist, that there are households without internet or without TV, because they do exist, but now it's less about who has a TV and who doesn't, and more about like we all access the internet. How fast is your internet speed? What are you using to access the internet with? Right. So I do think it's kind of cool that we are moving so fast that a lot of what's changing is the interface or like the amount of memory that you have. And I mean, obviously, if you're on a computer that was made in the 90s, you're gonna have issues. But if you're on a computer that was made in like, I don't know, 2010, it'll be rickety, but you'll probably still be able to get through some stuff, you know. But it is kind of cool.
And the increasing cheapness of that technology sometimes leads to weird things, like the fact that, you know, in poorer parts of the world, you're much more likely to have a smartphone than you are to have like a desktop computer. Even though desktop computers are the quote-unquote older technology, the phone in essence does a lot of the same things, but is ultimately cheaper for the most part,
and more useful.
And more useful, right?
So I mean, when I was trying to come up with this, I was just thinking to myself, and this is going back to Amber, that it's not necessarily a good thing, but the good seems to outweigh most of the negative in this sense. I was looking at it through a utilitarian scope, because when we talk about the lifespan of technology, when we talk about the functionality of it, we're now bridging the gap between those that could not access it at all before and those that had this infinite amount of data, which equals wealth, resources, intelligence, which our society has never seen anything like that before. Absolutely. So now more people, not everyone, now more people have these tools to be able to get to a certain point because of the devalue. But the thing that I question is, will it move in a fast enough pace? So will now everyone be able to access the internet for resources, right? But will there be now new levels to this accessing in the future? Like, just more than just internet speed in a sense. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe one thing that can taper that or reverse it sometimes is how much control the government has, right? Like you can say like, well, China has great internet speeds, but the nature of how much the government allows them to see is suppressed, and therefore it's the growth that could potentially occur from a completely united internet would be slowed down because they're isolated, right? So I wonder if that's where, you know, because a lot of very controlling governments are terrified of the idea of their citizens having this technology, because it is unprecedented. And you can see what happened in Egypt when they used like Twitter and stuff like that to help stage their rebellion. So I don't know. That's an interesting thing to consider, I think.
And a lot closer to home is what was that thing Comcast was just doing where you pay more and you get on the faster lane, you get less ads. Like that was very real. And that was something where it was literally going to be the people with the money were going to get their information faster.
SOPA.
Yeah, that. I don't know how long ago that was. but
About 5 years
like
ago, but it keeps
I
popping
feel
up.
like I feel like in the United States they're less likely to censor things that way, but I would not put it past, like we already tried to monetize it in a really dangerous way, so I feel like that would happen first, and I really feel like it should be, there are definitely nonprofits out there trying to do this, but I feel like internet access should be a very basic thing that people should have. Like, I know it's not food, I know it's not shelter, but access to information is very powerful. So I feel like that would actually probably be, as far as leveling things, like a really good next step to take.
Yeah.
And just to finish this out, I'm thinking now about ISPs. Will there be a new ISP where it's the comparable company to Cricket and internet? You know what I mean? It's going to be cheap. It's going to be easy to sign up for a subscription membership, but it might not be as fast or expansive as, let's say, the mother or father network of a company, if it's considered an umbrella company.
Or maybe you get like limited web pages per day or something like that. That'd be kind of...
Exactly.
Because that kind of sounds like the data cap that a bunch of the internet companies are doing now.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of scary.
Yeah. And they try to compromise by saying, oh, we just slowed it down instead of removing it now. But it's like, but if it's so slow that you can't get to the page within like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
it's another factor in the way. So.
Our sponsor for this week is called Scrivener. Scrivener was created by writers for writers. It's basically a way to plan how you write things. So if you are, say, writing a script or a novel or a research paper or really any long-form text that involves a lot of effort, it's a really cool way to help you organize these multiple documents. You kind of have this virtual corkboard where you can keep some of your notes on the side. There's outlining features, ways to categorize what you're working on. They have a script writing mode for people such as myself who enjoy writing scripts, and they have all kinds of wonderful features that you can check out should you be interested in them. They do offer a free trial if you do want to check it out. You can download it for the Mac. If you want to check out this product, you can go to literatureandlatte.com, which I think is just a very awesome name for a company. But yeah, it will work the way you want. It's completely flexible, and it's very diverse to what your style of working is. So if you want to check it out, it's called Scrivener, and once again, that's at literatureandlatte.com.
What a cool and different way to set up your office space all on your desktop.
There you go.
Very genius, very simplistic.
So I've touched upon this idea before when we've talked about various other topics, but I think it's really interesting to see how influence on the internet has become a currency of its own. And a lot of what you see companies trying to do is less reliant upon specifically putting money into advertising or putting money into promoting their product as an ad, and spending a lot more of their money on trying to capitalize off of other people's influence, which was always a thing, since the beginning of celebrity culture. But now you have these microcosms of celebrity culture on every social media imaginable, Instagram or Vine stars or something like that. And now it's like you can reach these pockets of audiences that are very direct to this specific web celebrity or something like that, and that's in a sense the currency. And I see it thrown around a lot. They can say like, I have 500,000 Instagram followers, therefore if I promote your makeup product, it will be seen by that many people. And sometimes it seems like it's more and more about the impressions rather than like any sort of specific direct reward. They're not saying like, go to this coupon code. It's just like, hey, I bought the new so-and-so, and they take a picture with it, or they do a YouTube video about it or something like that. So what do you think about this shift to digital influence kind of being a currency of its own, rather than depreciating value of like direct online advertising?
Well, I feel like this is something that comes up a lot in our podcast behind the scenes, but the idea of something feeling organic, the idea of something feeling not forced, because there are advertisements everywhere now, and people don't want to look at an advertisement. But if this is a thing that a person you admire is using because they like it, and not just because, you know, they somebody paid them to slap it on a billboard, it just, I feel like it works with the audience better. So that makes sense. And kind of on a side note, I also feel like just the sheer number of celebrities and this kind of follower culture that we have now, I feel like it was almost is bound to happen as soon as you gave people the ability to get like Twitter famous or Instagram famous, because that means that people are choosing who they want to follow. It's not just something that's being like thrown at them by the news or by the only 3 TV shows you can watch, you know. But
so I'm thinking from a social psychological perspective. So social comparison theory, where you look upwardly to compare yourself to those that are dissimilar to you, because you don't have what they have in a sense, or they have something that you want in them or within an image that you don't think is attainable, but yet you buy it anyways. So I'm thinking of that when you're talking about those personalities that are on Vine, that are on Instagram, even to an extent before all that, YouTube. This kind of currency, I guess it always existed, right? But it existed and permeated in different ways. And what is this currency? Is this currency a relation between you and the person? Is it actually a monetary value? It's really hard to quantify.
Yeah. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on the person who's utilizing these things to have, like, say, a brand or an image that is consistent, you know. Like, you know, I'll see like a YouTuber and they'll do like a sponsored video, but it'll be for like a video game or something like that, and you can see the people in the comments going like, this is so dumb, like this doesn't seem like anything you play otherwise, like this is obviously you're just doing it for the money or whatever. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think everyone needs to eat. But I mean, I always take great care when we do our advertisers to find companies that I think are making an awesome product, or something I would not mind being associated with. And I think that's the thing it has to come down to a lot, is like, I think people can smell through if they're just collecting a paycheck or whether maybe they actually believe in what the product is.
I think that's also interesting, the idea that because we are choosing who we follow now, we also feel like they owe us this pure self that we think we have of them. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as you have somebody who's self-made on YouTube doing video games or what have you, the people who are followers or watch their videos consistently feel like they're now owed something for it. And maybe that's why if you have like an Instagram person who does makeup tutorials and they have a certain kind of makeup that they're saying, oh, this is what I use, it might feel more organic. And maybe because it feels more organic, you go, this isn't an advertisement, this is just what this person likes, and it's okay if I like what they like, because you know what I mean? I feel like it's just a lot less forced. But I don't have an Instagram, so I don't know.
You do, you just don't use it.
It's like, I think I used it 2 years ago to post a picture of a pumpkin.
It's like Bastard Amber or something like that.
Yeah, because Bastard Amber is a gel name.
I still tag you in things if you ever log back
if I
on
ever get
that.
my Instagram back, maybe I'll re-download Instagram.
Just to see what you've been tagged in.
Just to see what's been going on.
I mean, I'm just thinking of myself. Like, have I fallen into this trap where I'm following a personality who may or may not be in wrestling, and second episode in a row, you all know now, pro wrestling fan, and want to buy things that they just have on in a photo. Like, my automatic thing to do is to find, what is that shirt? Where did it come from?
Oh, yeah.
And personally, I mean, I'm not a person that likes to shop a lot unless it's repurposed clothes. Like, if I'm clothes shopping, it's going to be repurposed. But I caught myself yesterday going to websites. This was ridiculous. 30, 40 minutes trying to find a t-shirt, and then, waking up to this weird moment where I'm just thinking to myself, am I that wrapped up into this situation? Am I that big of a fan of this personality?
Well, I have this really cool movement for you if you want to get away from the capitalism. It's called Freeganism.
Free range vegans that cannibals can eat.
That live in abandoned buildings. I'm not even kidding. That's one of the things on their websites. Why are there homeless people when the government just has buildings boarded up? Is one of their points. They say squatters are not people who just live in an abandoned building. They refurbish it. Which I don't know.
This sounds like such a hipster thing.
It sounds like a cult to me, kind of.
I think we need to do like an expose on them. Like,
on Freeganism?
Can you not cover Freeganism? Like, interview people.
They're not gonna hear this because I don't think the internet is free range.
It's like how you can make fun of the Amish all you want online because they're never gonna know.
Wow, that was kind of mean.
But I think what's really interesting about this stuff too is how reliable the data is as well, because we'll say, like, within the history of television, which has existed since the 20s, 30s, Nielsen ratings are infamously unreliable. Like, the way they measure these things are literally, they send out like these little survey things to random people, very small selection of people at that, and you have to actively remember to write down the time that you started watching TV, what program you were watching, and then you fill out these little cards and you send them back. And it's a completely clunky way of measuring it, but with online things, you can see exactly how many followers you have.
With Google, they can see exactly what your gender is when you're online and what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how many view counts this particular video has. You can see how many likes it has. Everything can be quantified.
It even knows my underwear. What underwear I'm about to wear.
Well, that's like how Google asks you, what is the color of the 2010 Nissan Versa that is sitting in your driveway right now? And I'm like,
so
oh my God,
creepy.
help me. Like, this is
so creepy. And then Bing is just like, what's your nickname?
Because, like, if you look for enough stuff, we're going to give you a $5 Starbucks gift card.
The wise words of Amber. Hello. Yes.
Bing actually got Amber to go off of what's that other one where it's an aggregate of all the
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
It's not an aggregate. It's they don't collect data off of you.
But I thought they combined search engines and they got like the best results from each of them or something.
I don't know anything about that. DuckDuckGo just doesn't track what you do. It's the whole point of DuckDuckGo.
Right.
But I wanted free money.
But how do we make them DuckDuckGo to the polls?
I can't believe there's actually crickets outside I can hear.
That is so funny.
Sorry, I had a Hillary Clinton moment.
I'm with her.
Again.
All right, so what did we learn today?
Freeganism, man. Freegans.
Friggin' Freegans.
Hashtag friggin' Freegans.
You friggin' turn the friggin' fridge from
friggin' fraggin'.
Well, at least they won't be the fracking Freegans, or else they wouldn't be very
maybe
environmentally
ferocious.
Circling back on the Aboriginal rights.
Freegans.
Hey.
I learned value depreciation can be sought after in a positive or a very negative aspect of what you can obtain and what you can lose.
And I learned that digital currency is a really interesting thing, and it's slightly invasive and slightly scary.
Slightly.
Bitcoins.
Let's go to an all Bitcoin society.
Oh my God, James is like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
We have Bitcoin at ATMs in Cleveland.
What?
I know there's one in Parma too.
What?
It's an ATM. It's because of the I'm not even kidding. It's because there are casinos here now. There's one in Jack Casino.
That's crazy.
I feel like
Sad? Me too.
that invites the black market and mafias and mobs to come to Cleveland because of bitcoins.
Hooray.
If you would like to engage in our digital currency, you can follow us on soundcloud.com/CYN podcast.
That was a weird pickup line.
Was that being
How we got Bryce.
With that pickup line?
How we got Bryce.
You can follow us on iTunes under the podcast section. You can send us an email at canyonotpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/canyonotpodcast. We're on Twitter under twitter.com/CYNPLC. And our next episode is our first anniversary episode. That's right. We have been doing this for a year now, and we have a very special episode planned for that. So
I hope it's a drunk episode.
anyway, be sure to check that out. It's sure to be lots of fun. And if you don't want to check it out, can you not?
Can you not?
Freeganism, man.
Drink it in.
Don't open your mouth. You might get the dumpster.
Dumpster.
That sounds like a
Dumpster liquid.
This sounds like a personal ad for Craigslist, where it's like,
Jesse and I have spent hours on Craigslist looking at the personal ad.
Oh my God.
Simultaneously beautiful and sad and terrifying.
now we know who's the author that wrote 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh man.
What's her name?
Completely forgot her name.
I don't remember.
Well, either way, now we know where she got her material from, because you remember, Joseph, we found a very, very, very awe-inspiring personal ad.
Yeah.
Man Seeks Out Woman that went for, what was it, 5 pages?
Oh my
Scrolling down.
It was a novel. It was pretty intense.
It
what
was
that
for
person
50
wanted.
Shades of Grey.
It was basically on that level.
There are like websites for that. You don't have to do it on Craigslist.
I mean, Craigslist is the bottom of the barrel of filth.
It
I
was like
think
so-
there are worse you can find.
Oh, dark Google.
Dark Duck Duck Go.
I don't think that's real.
Whatever. Okay, bye.